Some days you read 20 pages of a book, but then for a long while you don't even read a single page. Some days you walk 10,000 steps, but then there are long stretches where you don't even step outside for a 5-minute walk and barely walk 500 steps. Some days you learn 20 new words, but then for a long time afterward, you don't even learn a single word in your desired language. Some days you dedicate 8 hours to language learning, but then for a long time, you don't spend even 15 minutes on it. Some weeks you post 7 videos on your channel, but then for weeks afterward, you don't post a single thing. And this pattern keeps repeating again and again. But what if we could have a routine in our lives that we could continuously follow over time? It doesn't have to be anything extraordinary, just something we can keep doing consistently. Let me share a personal experience. In 2023, I installed a note-taking app called Obsidian. With one of its plugins, I started tracking the number of words I learned over time for my language learning. I actually do that for learning English, which is not my native language. Some days I would learn 20 words, but then there were periods where I didn't add even one word for months. At the end of 2023, when I looked at my stats, I was a bit shocked. I had added only 142 words that year. And that was embarrassing for me. Why was it embarrassing? Because even if I had learned just one word a day, I would have ended up with 365 words, over 2.5 times what I had actually achieved. This was particularly embarrassing for a reason. If someone had told me at the beginning of 2023 to aim for just one word a day, I would have said, what's the point of one word a day? You can't really make progress with just one word a day. I need to learn at least 10 words a day. And yet, the result was what I described. If I had stuck to one word a day, I would have learned 365 words, more than double what I actually managed. In 2024, I decided to change my approach. I set my goal to one word a day. Of course, some days I had more motivation and learned more, but my goal was one word a day. And using this approach, I've learned over 800 words so far, 5.6 times more than the previous year. Let me give another example involving a friend of James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits. This friend, Nathan Barry, used a simple strategy of writing 1,000 words every day, about 2 to 3 pages, and did this consistently for 253 days. Now compare that to the intense approach many of us take, sometimes writing 20 or even 30 pages in a day, but eventually finding it too exhausting and giving up completely. When you compare these two approaches, you see that Nathan's maximum speed never reached the level of a writer who writes 20 to 30 pages in a day out of that short-term burst of inspiration. But when you look at it over a year or two, you realize Nathan's average speed was higher than other writers. By writing 1,000 words each day, 3 books are finished in 9 months. We all have different average speeds for our habits. For example, what's your average step count over the past year? I'm guessing you don't even know your average. Another question. On average, how many pages of a book did you read over the past year? How many posts, on average, did you publish on your social media channel in the past year? If religion matters to you, how much time have you devoted to it on average over the past year? I really like this idea of average speed. These days, I even use it for my weekly goals. For example, according to an app on my phone, I've averaged 4,100 steps a day over the past year. On average, I've posted less than 3 posts a week on my programming Instagram channel. I can use this not only to track my progress, but also for planning. For example, I know that if I can bring that average daily step count from 4,100 to 4,500, that's a 10% improvement. Now, let me suggest a kind of tracker so you can measure your own average speed in any area you are interested in and use it for goal setting to try to improve it. First of all, create a table like this. Let's say you want to track your step count. If your phone doesn't have a step tracking app, you can track the time you spend walking. Suppose today, in one session, you walked 100 steps. So you just enter 100 in this column. And suppose in another session, you walked 500 steps. So you need to enter 500 in this column. Let's say you also walked 1,000 steps at home while listening to an audiobook. So enter that too. Now, what's the total? Yes, 1,600 steps. Write this total in the sum column. Let's say after a few days, my table looks like this. Now, let's talk about the cumulative sum column. This column represents the total number of steps you've taken to date. For example, on day 1, it's 1,600 steps. On day 2, you walked 3,000 steps. Adding that to the 1,600 from day 1, we get 4,600 steps in total by day 2. On day 3, you walked 5,000 steps. Adding that to the cumulative 4,600 from the previous day, the total is now 9,600 steps. Now, I will explain why this column matters in a moment. Bear with me. The date column is self-explanatory. And finally, this column shows the day number. Now, let's say at the end of day 3, you want to check your average speed so far. Simply divide the number in the cumulative sum column by the day number. In this example, that's 9,600 divided by 3, giving 3,200. So by day 3, you've averaged 3,200 steps per day. Of course, 3 days is a short time to measure an average speed, but as the days add up, this average gives a clearer picture of your actual pace. I think this is the best way to set goals for habits. You need to look at your average speed. If you are happy with it, great, keep it up. But if you're not, set a goal to gradually increase it. That way, you're continually improving on your own past performance. You don't have to be better than anyone else. Just aim to be better than yourself. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please like and share it with your friends if you would like and you're willing to. It helps the content reach more people. Also, don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this. See you in the next video.